Hey, welcome back to the channel. I am back at work on the Plein today and getting ready to separate this aileron from the wing. I had just taken one step yesterday. I think it was yesterday. I've kind of lost track of days, but and that was to just go ahead and cut these. I've only cut them on the top side, and the method that I used for that was just to take a chalk line and actually snap a line from the tip here, from the tip right here all the way down. And once I got that line snapped, that way I can guarantee that I've got a nice straight. Everything is cut straight for the RS-17 that gets attached there to rest against, and you can see an example of it here. See how that's actually set out a little bit. If I would have cut here right against a gusset on every one of these, it wouldn't have been exactly straight. So this way I guarantee I have a straight line all the way down, no matter what the gussets are doing, and that works out great. So yeah, okay, so I'm gonna flip the wing over. We'll do the same to the other side, and we'll get this aileron disconnected, and then we'll continue on. All right. One thing you have to do here is you have to fight the urge to cut here, and even though it doesn't make any sense, it's like mentally you see a line and you think, okay, that's where I cut. So really you have to cut here and cut in between these two right here instead. So Zona saw is perfect for this job. Then I just use my fingers so that I can get my blade centered right on my red line. And since when you build these ribs, you don't apply epoxy from here out to here, so there's no epoxy between this piece and this piece. There's no epoxy between the rib itself and this piece here, so it actually, you can tell. Just with the wooden handle, all I did is just give it a little whack. And you can see that it just broke free right there. So, and then just do that all the way down. All right, now that I've got all those cut, I should be able to get the aileron free here, and so I'll just take the bearing bracket off of this side. Just like that. And that is super gratifying. All right, so now that I've got that done, I've gone, I don't know if you can see that, that pencil line that I have. It's probably really shiny from the light, but nonetheless, there's a pencil line there where I took my protractor, I went from the center of the bearing, the center of the bolt right here, the center of that, and I just made sure, see, I went like this with it, just to make sure that I had an 1/8 of an inch clearance from the front of this nose rib, and that's so when I add the sheeting to the front, I end up with at least a 1/16 inch clearance here. So I have to take my Dremel tool and take out some material here, but I'll do that after we get the RS17 pieces in here. I'll go clean each of these up, just make sure there's no epoxy laying in there, and just hit them with the sanding block really quick. And then once I get that, we just take a measurement from here where it sits on the gusset on the inside there, all the way down to this end where it sits right there. It's going to be somewhere around 139 inches. It'll be a little less than that, but whatever it is, I'll measure it, and then we can glue in that RS17 piece and go from there. Once we get the wing sort of taken care of, and we get all the we get the top and the bottom, and then you saw the additional pieces that are added in here. Maybe you haven't seen that video yet. I'm making a big assumption that you have, but you'll see it in this process anyway. And I had to do quite a bit of work on the trailing edge of the other wing to make sure that I had really good clearance when the aileron was being operated. So I made a couple notes that on the bottom RS17, when I cut the 45-degree angle on that, I'm actually going to cut it at 46 degrees roughly, just a little more. And then the additional support pieces that I'm adding, I'll go to the sander and actually increase the angle on those a little bit, because I had to sand those quite a bit as well to get clearance. So I'm going to take care of that before I epoxy them in this time. And yeah, but you'll get to see all that. So enough talking, I'm going to build something here. All right, so the RS17 that fits in there, I just realized that it currently lives in these boards. So I actually have to release it from those boards so that we can use it on this wing. So I'm gonna get my table saw set up, and I'm gonna have to cut those pieces. So I just went through my stack over here, and I didn't cut those, or I cut them before but then I used everything and I had to go purchase some more lumber. So yeah, we'll get that going. All right, so this is the setup I like to use when I'm cutting lumber, and what I have are these rollers that work really well for this whole process, and they just help you hold the board, and both on when you're pushing it in and when it's going out. This piece here, and I can't remember what it's actually called, but this helps a great deal because these little fins here, I don't know if you've ever seen one of these, but it just helps to hold the board against the fence without a lot of additional effort. And you can see when you push it in, it's just applying a slight amount of tension to the board, just enough to hold it there. It's just a huge help. And then of course on the outside, I just get this roller lined up, and I have this roller just slightly lower because the boards tend to drop a little bit as they come off, so it's slightly lower than the one that goes in. So yeah, that's initially how I cut the wood. So I will I'll get the edge off of this. It's just rounded off a little bit. I kind of like to take just about a little more than a blade width off of the board, and then we'll go from there. Now these boards, when I purchased these, they transition a little. They have a really good grain. I don't know if you can see that. They have really good grain on this side of the board, but not so good on the last couple inches on this side. So there are sections of it that are good over on this side, like right in the middle it's not so good, but then when I say not so good, it's just they don't have enough grains per inch over there, but then when you get down to this part of the board, there's plenty, and the other part of the board there's plenty. So I just analyze it as I go along and make sure that I'm achieving the required number of grains per inch. Fall off, not a problem on these boards at all. It just pretty much runs the entire length of the board. Occasionally when you get out toward the ends, it drops off a little bit, but it's still within spec. So yeah, okay, cool. Well, I'll get this cut. Since I'm going to continue to need some RS17 quarter by inch and a quarter when I get to the stabs and actually all the tail feathers, use it. I'm going to go ahead and continue to cut off some blocks of inch and a quarter. And I'll switch the grain direction because I want the ribs to actually go, the ribs on the stabs, I want the grain to run one direction, and on these RS17 pieces for the trailing edge, I want the grain to run a different direction. So it just comes out just as a block like this, inch and a quarter, and then I'll cut this down to size. So I'll be, for the trailing edge pieces that I need, I'll be cutting 1/4 inch off of here, so that I get the grain this direction. And for the ribs, I'll actually be cutting the 1/4 inch from here so that I get the grain vertical like this. So hopefully that makes sense to you. Yeah, so I'm going to cut a couple more blocks off of this one, use up this whole board for a RS-17. Since I'm set up and cutting, I might as well just keep going. So not only will I get the 2 I need for there, I'll get what I need for the majority of the tail feathers. So okay, cool. I was going to show you that even though the edge of this board, this is where the grain starts to no longer be in spec for this species of wood. Until you cut into it, you just never really know, because I'm halfway through the board and everything is still running really nice. I mean, there's plenty of grains, no fall off. So I'm super happy with that. I'll get as much as I can out of this. And yeah, anyway, yeah, I'll get as much as I can out of this. Now, since I'm switching to cutting 1/4 inch, and I'm going to cut a bunch at 1/4 inch, this is actually my next favorite tool. It's it has a bearing, a ball bearing on this end, and it fits in your the track here. And what you do is you set the bearing at a 1/4 inch from your blade, and then once you get that set, then all you have to do is you just keep moving your wood and your fence over against till it hits the bearing, and you know you're cutting 1/4 inch every time. So my saw is unplugged for safety, just so you know. But I just have a 1/4 inch piece that I just saved as I went along, and so I use that as a reference to get the proper distance from the blade. And I'm gonna end up testing it anyway as soon as I make a cut. So this gets me close. So then I tighten that down, and then what I'll do, then all you have to do is take your fence. Just move your piece over, trying to make sure it feeds straight until it touches the bearing. Lock it in, rolls nice, keeps it tight against the fence, and then we'll plug it in and just make a quick mark. And I have a little mark on the end right there, so I can just measure it. Hey, I just wanted to show you real quick. I got all of the 1100 and some inches of all of this cut for all of my tail feathers. So that's all stacked up here, ready to go when I get to that. And now I'm cutting the 45-degree angle on the RS-17 that goes back here for the back of the wing where the aileron is. And I wanted to show you that I also, another really useful thing for this tool is you can space it with a piece of wood like this, and you can actually clamp it to your fence and use it in a vertical format, and then I don't have to worry about personally trying to hold this down as I'm pushing it through. It'll just push through. It'll push through nice. This provides let me show you that again. I didn't have the camera in the right place. This just provides nice tension as you're pushing it through, holding it down so I don't have to try to, because every time it rises up here, it would be changing the angle. So it's important that that stay nice and flat to the tabletop. so we get this cut nicely. And I've already I'm gonna have to test it here. I've already made a cut just to make sure that that I'm coming out the way I want to. So I'm all set there. I guess the only really cool thing would be if I had a second one of these and I could actually put it in place and hold this against the fence that way. Then I'd be totally locked in, but I can take care of that part without any problem. So yeah, off we go. All right, so I got this bottom piece cut to size, and just test fitting it here, making sure I got a nice level, everything worked out perfectly here. Everything's nice and level. And then I'll get some, and got a nice fit here. So I'll get some clamps laid out, and you can see that once this is epoxied in place, then these will get cut flush with that. And that'll work out great. And then once that's set, then I can flip it over and do the top one. And actually I can probably do the top one at the same time I'm doing the bottom one, because I can still clamp it the other direction. Yeah, so I may get both of these epoxied in place. Wouldn't that be like super sweet? Yeah, let me get the top one cut, because the wing is upside down. That's why I keep saying top. Let me get the top one cut as well, and then we'll get that one in place and mix up enough epoxy to do both of them at the same time. Let's see, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just make sure I have enough clamps. That'd be a good idea. All right, I'll take a look here. All right, so we're making good progress here. This is all now. The epoxy's all drying. I went in and scraped out some of it. Looks like I've got maybe a couple more spots I've got to get to. Since I've got these other pieces to go in, I just want to make sure I don't have a whole glob of epoxy that I have to file out later. But it's not too bad. So that's all good. Light clamp here did the job. Needed some stronger clamps in certain places just to keep the bowing in place. And so it looks all super good, and I'm really happy with it. When I sight down the backside here, they're nice and straight. When I sight down this way, everything is really nice and straight, which is what I wanted. Why we did the chalk line. And now I'm just going to come over here, and the next thing to do here is to cut these members off. So I'm going to come and get my saw, cut those in all of these locations. I can move the staples, remove this, not move the staples. I can remove the staples and then get this, just getting this prepared for sheeting of the leading edge. I already have those cut widthwise. I just have to cut them to length. And as I mentioned before, we go from the outside edge. You can see where this piece doubled up to create 3/8. It centers on here, and then it centers on here, and that's how the leading edge sheeting goes. And just like the wing, once I get this prepped, I have to verathane the inside, and then verathane the inside of the sheeting, wrap it, all that stuff. So okay, I'm gonna get my saw and I'm gonna work on cutting these off. All right. Hey, so thanks so much for checking out the video today. I do appreciate it, as you know. And so in summary, we got both the upper and lower RS-17 with the bevel on it, epoxied in place. And then we also got all of the ribs, the false ribs, the nose ribs on the aileron, all sanded and looking good. And then back here, I actually put in a place where the tube for the pitot tube is going to exit. So it's just a kind of a block, little plywood that's flush with the exterior of the wing, and just a little triangle piece to add some additional support. And so you'll see how we're going to set that up later. But yeah, this was a great day. So as always, I'll catch you later.